Hey everyone, in today's video, I want to show you my favorite editing software of all time, Adobe Premiere. And I want to walk you through exactly how to get started all the way to finishing your first project in just one video. I am putting together a complete course on Adobe Premiere because there's a lot to learn. But in this half hour, I'm hoping to teach you as much as possible in just one video. If you're new to Adobe Premiere, it's created by the company Adobe. They make Photoshop and a ton of other softwares. And Premiere's been around since 2003. I've been using it since 2010. And I went to film school and learned editing even before that. So I use it now every single day. So I thought I could make a video to show you exactly my workflow and some tips and tricks to make you a better editor. So first things first, if you don't have Adobe Premiere or the latest version of Adobe Premiere, basically what Adobe did several years ago is they made this a subscription. So you no longer buy the software with a one-time payment, you pay monthly. So I have a link, an affiliate link with Adobe in the description below where you could get a 7-day free trial. So you'll go ahead and start here and then you'll pay a monthly fee. Or if you want to be a full-blown editor, or if you use other programs like Photoshop and Lightroom, you could get this bundle package. This basically comes with over 20 different desktop and mobile apps for one price, but this does also have a 7-day free trial. So whichever direction you go ahead and choose that here. They do have business and student teacher editions as well. But what's great about this is you always get the latest update. All the updates come to you all the time, so you always use the latest version. Back in the day, I bought a $1,000 version of this and it was quickly outdated, so I don't mind paying the monthly price, especially if you're gonna use it to make videos that you're gonna monetize. Once you download and install it, I'm just gonna open up Adobe Premiere Pro here, the latest version that I have. So after you open up Adobe Premiere here, it doesn't matter which version you're using, you typically see this welcome screen here. And the first thing we want to do is we want to create a new project. You'll see that right here and you'll see that on the left side. So I'll go ahead and press that and walk you through creating your first project. You'll see a screen that looks like this. So I'll kind of walk you briefly through what you need to do here for beginners. But typically you start with naming your project. So this is Adobe Premiere Tutorial. And then the location where this is saved, this is really important because I usually use external hard drives. And basically what I do is from the time where I record something on a card or on a phone, basically I go from this camera to this card, I take this card out, put it on my computer to download, and then I use one of these external hard drives. I'm using one right here for this project. So I definitely recommend, the best thing I ever learned from a teacher was organizing my project at this point. So I know this is boring before I show you editing, but if you get an external hard drive, you could really organize things and things will not fall apart later on. I definitely recommend the organization process before you start editing. It'll save you a lot of headache later. So I already created that, so I'm gonna change my location to that external hard drive. So right here, I created a folder called Adobe Premiere already, so you could just press new folder on Mac or PC, create one, and then the way I organize every project is I create 4 different folders. One is called footage. Anything from my card or anything I shot with a camera is gonna go in here. Music, pictures, sometimes I have graphics, and then I have my project files, which is what I'm saving right now. So I always use an external hard drive, you see it right here, put everything into it, create 4 folders, and then I go into projects and choose that. And everything that I do with this project file is gonna be nice and organized in there. And every new file will be sorted out that way. It won't be all over the place on your computer. Nothing is gonna go offline later. Okay, so those 2 things first, then everything else I pretty much leave on recommended. Now this depends if you're using a desktop or a laptop and what kind of options you have, but go with the recommended, leave everything else the same. Scratch disk, go to this tab and make sure everything is set to your project too. So you can see I use a big hard drive. I have 3 terabytes open out of 5 terabytes because video files are big. That's why you want to do it this way. And ingest settings, you don't have to worry about. This is more advanced right now. So basically all you have to do is name your project, choose your location, organize things, press OK. And when you open Premiere, you most likely land on this tab right here that says Learning. You see you have all these different tabs for different things. What I recommend you do is jump into default editing first. Let's go here. And it's gonna slightly change how the layout of your Adobe Premiere will look. So you see it changed some of the windows for me. So in this section, let's look at bringing the footage that we have that we want to edit with into this. Now, this could be footage, it could be pictures, it could be audio files, music files, whatever. It's just called media. We'll bring it over here. It says import media to start. So this box is where all your media is going to be. And then I'll show you the other boxes as we go through. So right now, all you have to worry about is that on top, you just landed on default editing. We'll cover some of these other tabs later. And in here, you will double click to import media. So just double click this box. And then it's gonna open your browser here on your PC or like the Finder here. And I wanna go back to my hard drive, my external hard drive. And I'm gonna open up that same folder, right, that I used to save my project files. And I'm going to go to footage. What I did was I just transferred my footage from my camera to this folder. So I'm not using it from the card, never use it from the card, because when you take out the card, the memory card, everything is gonna be gone. So transfer over to another folder on your computer or on an external hard drive, which is what I did. And then I'm gonna select the whole folder and import. Sometimes depending on what you import, you might get a pop-up, just press OK, and he imports it. I imported the whole folder. Then what I do, I double click here again, and I'll go back one step, and I'll import this time music and pictures too I could import. So I'll import it that way. So that's the easiest way to import, or you could come to File, and then there's an import option over here too, down here, where you could import or use the keyboard shortcut. I prefer to just double click. Or you could just grab something from a window like this and bring it over here like this too. That's another way, dragging it or double clicking it. Okay, so everything's here. So that's importing your media. Next, let's go ahead and start editing. So let me show you the basic editing process, which is assembly. Assembly is just you selecting the best parts of any clip and then putting it down here. So the way that works is I'm gonna open my footage folder. I'm gonna double click it. So it should show me something like this. And in here, I have all the footage, right? But usually the beginning of it, maybe the middle of it, somewhere along the way is the part I want to keep and the rest I want to throw away, right? Basic editing. So this is how simple an editing process is. Come to the very first clip here. You're just going to go through every clip and choose the best part. So I'm going to double click on this clip. It's going to put it up here for me. If anytime you want to make things bigger or smaller because you can't see, all these windows could be resized. So I'm going to grab this and make it a little bit bigger so I could see what I'm looking at. Okay, you could do this with pretty much any window that you have in Premiere. I have that open now and it's right here. And what I could do is if I grab this blue thing here, I could go ahead and scrub. This is called scrubbing when you're just going through your shot. These are just some drone shots I took in Florida. So what I want to do is I want to decide where is my clip going to start and when is it going to end. Instead of using the start and end point of this clip, I want to make my own. So remember this keyboard shortcut. For beginners, I don't recommend learning too many, but this one is essential. Select the start point. So I'm going to scrub right here and start here and press I. That stands for in. And look what it does when I press I. It makes this the new in point instead of the beginning. So that's your start point, your new start point, I. And then I'll go where this ends, maybe right here. And O stands for out. So I for in, O for out. That creates a new start and a new end for my clip. Okay, so I have that clip. Now, before I show you the next part, let me explain this right here. It says drag media here to create a sequence. A sequence, or sometimes referred to as timeline, in any editing program is where all your editing is going to take place. So if I drag this from this box right here, I'm gonna grab it and bring it down here and let go. My edit just began. So the first thing I did was double click this, added an in point, added an out point, dragged it down here, and it created my first sequence / timeline. You could refer to it whichever way you like. And since everything is taking place down here, your whole edited project, I'll take a second to explain to you what you're just looking at down here. V1, this stands for video 1, that's your video track. And underneath it is A1, which is your audio track. This drone shot has no audio, so you won't see anything over here really. This is just a blank audio, basically a silent audio track that is created with the video. I'll show you a different clip later that has video and audio together, and we'll focus on audio in a bit. Right now, I'm just worried about video. So let me actually stretch this out. You could stretch out any of these tracks to kind of get a little bit of a preview of your clip, okay? So now that you've created a timeline, you still have your preview window here, and you have your what's called a program window here. This is gonna be your final edit and where you could preview your edit. But let's not worry about this timeline yet. We need to actually continue to assemble. We need to continue the assembly process. So what I do next is double click the next clip, and then I go through it again. So here is maybe where I wanna start. I'll put I, keep going. Well, let's put O here. So I and O, and then I could grab it and put it past this one. And it's gonna snap to the previous clip, okay? And if it doesn't snap for you, there's this little magnet tool. It's called Snap in Timeline. Make sure this is turned on, because if you don't have it turned on, it's really hard to get them to connect together. So when one clip ends, another one starts. Okay, so you definitely want to make sure that's set. Now, I'm just gonna press minus here, because if I press minus, I could shrink this down a little bit so I could get a better picture. If I press plus, it zooms into it. So I'm gonna press minus. Up here is important because it will show you how long your edit is. Right now, my first clip ended here, so about 5 seconds. You can see that over here. And if I keep going, it's about 30 seconds for that clip, right? So this clip is far too long, so maybe I'll trim it down shorter. But again, right now, I don't worry about any of that. All I do is I go through all my clips, double click it, load it up here, see which parts I like. Maybe I don't like any of this, so I'll leave it alone. Let's go to the next one. Again, I'll go through it. This looks good. Let's press the in point here. I keep going, O, and I'll drag it and put it over here. Now, another option you have besides dragging it are these two, insert and overwrite. So if you insert, it's gonna appear right here. Okay, you see that? I'm gonna select this though and delete it. And if you override, let me press override, it overrides on top of another clip. So sometimes that's useful. Really, my preference is just dragging and dropping where I want the clip to go. So I'm gonna undo that. So you could go to edit and undo. There's a keyboard shortcut for that. That is very, very useful. So that's Command Z or Control Z on a PC. And that undid the last clip. Okay, so I just added another clip, so we have 4 clips to work with. In this part, I wanna show you changing the order of clips, right? Because if you're going by order here and just adding clips to your timeline, maybe you'll change your mind. Maybe you decide that maybe this clip should be the first clip, which actually is a nicer clip than this clip, right? So maybe we wanna make this the first clip. Well, how do we do that? Well, you could simply grab a clip and bring it anywhere. It's really easy. You could bring it at the end, you could bring it in the beginning, okay? Let me just undo that to explain what happened there. I'll undo that 2 times, just with my keyboard shortcut Command Z. If you just grab and put it at the end, it creates an opening here, a gap, okay? Then if you play the video, it's just gonna show you a black scene right here. You typically don't want that, so you wanna close that gap. So you typically will bring the next one, bring it back, and then bring the new one back. You don't want those openings here because you want a shot to continue. But we want to bring this in the beginning, and when we did that, if I grab it and put it right here, it erased what was there before. That we don't want either. So I'm going to press Command Z. What we need to do is we need to grab all of them. So I'm just highlighting everything, and we could bring it over like this to create that opening. And then I could deselect everything by just clicking in an empty section, and then I'll select my last clip that I want to be the first one, bring it over here, and then I could select everything else and close that gap. So this is a very beginner's guide, and I typically use keyboard shortcuts to take care of that. But just when you're getting started, it's really easy to just highlight a couple of clips or one clip at a time and then move them wherever you want, and then grabbing everything and closing gaps like this, okay? So that's why I wanted to show you the basics. And here, another way to go about it is if you select this clip and press delete, let's say you no longer want this clip, you press delete, it creates this gap. So let me undo that and show you a really cool keyboard shortcut. You could select something and hold Option or Alt and then delete, And that keyboard shortcut closes that gap for you. So it'll go from this clip to this clip. Very, very useful, okay? Next, let's look at trimming a clip, because sometimes you put a clip like this one and it's far too long. You want this to be shorter. Well, how do you make this clip shorter? Super easy. If you want the ending to end a little sooner, you grab the end and you bring it in. If you want the beginning to start a little bit later, you grab the beginning and you bring it out, right? Same thing with closing these gaps though. You do have to select this gap and press Option or Alt and Delete. That will close the gap, or you could simply just grab it and close the gap this way. And then you'll have to grab these and close that gap too for the ending. And now this is trimming our clip, a very basic style of trimming that I recommend for beginners before they start playing with more advanced things. Now let's look at splitting a clip. Sometimes you want to split this clip. Maybe you want to keep this part here, but the second part you want it to go somewhere else, maybe at the end. Well, right now I can't do that. If I grab it, the whole thing moves, the whole clip. And I don't want to go back here and start from scratch in the assembly section. So this tool right here, it looks like a razor blade. The keyboard shortcut for it is C because it stands for cut. So if you select it, you could come in here, and as long as this line is where you want the cut to happen, like here, if you come down here, you could click and it separates your clip to two different clips, okay? Then you need to actually change your tool back to the arrow tool, this one. It's called the selection tool, keyboard V for the keyboard shortcut. Now I could select the second part and move it to the end, right? And then I could select these three clips like this and close that gap. So now we changed our edit where that one showed up at the end. And again, you could change the order of clips anytime you want for your story to make sense. Now let me show you a clip that has audio. So I'll come back over here where all my clips are and I'll grab one of them and I'll bring this one entirely into my timeline, right? So I didn't click this one, load it up here, press I and O. I just grabbed it from here directly to here. So I skipped a step. And here's the problem when I grab from here to here, there's a bunch of stuff here that I don't need, right? Before I start talking. So I need to cut that out. Well, we already know about the razor tool, so C, I'll get this blade, I'll come and cut the beginning part out, and I'll choose the arrow again, and I'll select this, and as long as I hold Option or Alt and press Delete, it will close that gap for me just like that. So now it makes sense, it's where I start. I'm gonna press minus here to just make this smaller, so this is my clip of talking. So now you can see the difference between clips that have no audio. You see there's just a flat line. Sometimes they don't have anything. There's no audio track at all. And when they do, they show these what's called the audio waveform. Let me just make it bigger to show you. This is what they look like. This is me talking. This is the audio waveform for it. And I have it on mute right now, but if you look here, this is basically the volume of me talking over here. And it's a pretty good volume, typically around this point where the green line comes up here. That's a good volume for talking. So you can mix and match. Typically on any project, I have me talking, then I cut to a scene like this, then maybe back to me talking. This is a typical editing project. And sometimes you want someone to talk and then you want to show something while they're still talking. So how do we do that? Well, the easiest way to do it is I could just select the clip that I have. Let's go ahead and load a clip up here. I'll double click this clip. Let's just put I here and O here. Let's say I want to show this clip while I'm talking. Well, instead of grabbing it from here, I could just grab the video. So I'll grab a video from here and I could just grab this video track and put it right here on top of me talking. Now, this is two different video tracks, right? There's video track 2. This one is just the sunset here. And then there's video track 1. But since video track 2, that little clip is covering me, it's gonna go from there to there, back to me. But the audio is gonna play the whole time. That's what's great about this kind of edit. And these, when you edit like this second clip is called B-roll. I use B-roll like this all the time. When you're telling a story, it's really great to just have someone kind of narrate underneath it this way. So this is either called a cutaway or adding B-roll to your video. Very, very essential to editing once you get a little more advanced. Let's say I'm done with the basic edit, then it comes adding music and fixing the audio and adding text and transitions and things like that. So let's get into that now. And the basics of it is this. If you want to add music, you basically put your music on a different audio track than your regular audio track. So if you have already someone talking, like right now, A1 has something on it, right? This is audio track 1, it's me talking. So music needs to go to audio track 2. So let's go back to our folder. I'm gonna press this up arrow to get out of this footage folder, and then I'll see my music folder and double click that. With music, you're gonna get in copyright issues if you don't license music, okay? It's really hard to just use any song, and especially if you put it on YouTube or work with clients, you have to license. So I'll put a link to my favorite platform, Envato, here, where you could just play a song, and then you could just pay a monthly fee and use as much as you want. You just press download here, and that's what I did. I licensed it through this platform. Now I could use it for anything, right? They're called royalty-free audio tracks. This platform right now has 73,000 to choose from, and you could filter by any number of options. So I want to make sure you understand that before you just use any song on your video, because it could lead to problems. So then I brought it here, just like I would with any footage. And just like with any other footage, you could double click it, preview it up here, and put in and out points. Or in this case, I want to use the whole track. So I'm just gonna grab it from here and bring it to audio track 2, okay? And it looks like I missed the beginning, so I'm gonna grab it and bring it to the beginning. Now it's snapped to the beginning. You can see I could easily move it to track 3 too, right? There's a bunch of tracks here. You could actually make more tracks anytime by right-clicking and adding tracks or audio tracks or video tracks. Really easy. Okay, so there's my music. I'm just gonna extend this out so you can see a little bit better. And now let's talk about audio levels and mixing your audio. So changing your audio levels, this is all you have to do. If I press play, and if you've never edited it, you can't hear me because the music is really overwhelming, which is okay if there is no one talking. Like in the beginning, this is good to let the music take over. But when someone is talking, you'll have to lower the music. And this is how you do it. You just come with your mouse right on this line, grab the line, bring it down. Right here, -28. Okay, I'll let go. And it's perfect. This is basically the audio level that I know based on experience where it needs to be, but it depends from song to song, right? Now, if I wanted to raise an audio level like me talking, I could grab that line and go up too, right? And how do you know it's perfect? Well, you could listen to it. This is the perfect video edit. And you could also look at that line, right? As long as it's not hitting this red part, it's probably a good mix. So that's just the very, very basics of audio editing, because there's literally, if you come up here and press audio, a whole audio mixing panel here with all kinds of sound effects and sound essentials here, dialogue mixes, music, so much to cover that this could be its own course. But just for basics, typically, if you use background music, just make sure if someone's talking to bring the volume down so it mixes correctly with the audio. And if someone's talking and it's low, just make sure you bring it up here so it falls between -6 and -12 on this bar. Now, look at this song here. It's far too long, right? My edit ended here, but the song, this green, keeps going. So I'll have to use the blade tool, come down here and cut right here, right where it ends, and then press the selection tool and select the rest and press delete. So now my audio and video end at the same time. And now I want to show you how to fade things in and out. Okay, so typically with audio especially, you want it to smooth out. You don't want it to just abruptly end. So if I click here and right click, there's this thing called apply default transition. And you could do this to video too. So I'll apply default transition. And let me show you how this is going to end now.
Entire editing workflow using Filmora 10.
Okay, so this fades it to black with audio or with video, and with audio, it fades it out. Anytime, let me press the plus sign to make it bigger. With the cross dissolve or this constant power fade here, you could make it longer too. So you could grab these transitions and make them longer. So this is fading audio or video in or out. You could do this in the beginning too, and it fades from black or it slowly fades up. So you could do this anytime. So now let's get into adding transitions. Transitions are what happens between two clips. So right now, if I press play with spacebar, okay, this is called a cut. The transition is just a cut. There's no transition besides that. This is typically what you see in movies, right? They just cut from one shot to another. But sometimes you want to maybe do a nice fade or something else. So let me introduce you to the effects library. So in this box right here, there is this thing called effects. And this has all kinds of stuff. It has stuff that I've bought for it outside of Premiere. It has default audio tracks. It has video effects and video transitions. Right now, let's open up video transitions. I'll show you the basics here. Under dissolve, cross dissolve is the most common. It's the default one. So if you grab it from here and put it in between two clips like this, and I'll go here and press spacebar, that's a cross dissolve, right? Very handy, probably the most common one you'll use. Then you have dip to black. It's very cool. Let me show you that. It goes to black and comes back from black. Very handy transition too. Then you have something called a film dissolve, which I really like. Let me show you that. So it's kind of a cross dissolve, but it's a little bit of a different style. And then there's more that you could play around with to see. Some of these are very, very cheesy, like a page peel. I don't recommend, but this is what it looks like, right? Very 90s. So you get the idea. You could get a ton of different transitions from this box. So I wanted to introduce you to that. And while we're here, I'll show you video effects too. So video effects are not what goes between two clips. It's what goes on top of a clip to make it a little bit different. So just to show you a very basic one, I'll show you image control here. You could change something to black and white. If I just drop it, just like that, it changed to black and white. But these effects have a ton of settings. So if I click this right here and come on top, there's effects control. So all your effects have their own control, and those are the control for the one I just applied, black and white. Let me select this and actually delete it. I'll show you a different one as well. So let me show you lens distortion. Let's drop this on top of this clip here. You could see all these settings. So let me change the curvature. You could see I could get this kind of effect out of that filter here. Now I rarely use video effects like this. I use maybe a handful of them, but I just wanted to show you video transitions and video effects, but it's for more advanced editing. Right now you could stick to the basics. But adding text is one of my favorite things with Adobe Premiere. Let me show you how it works because it's really, really easy. All you have to do is press T right here. In your keyboard too, it's just T for text tool. And then you could click anywhere on your top of your video and I could just type text, okay? Let me actually call this Florida sunset, okay? So this is the text. And as you could see on video track 3 randomly, it just created that text effect. And I could treat this just like any other video file, right? I could actually cut it. I could shrink it down or make it longer. Super, super easy. So maybe I'll actually use the blade tool and end it at the end of this clip. And I'll use the selection tool and delete it. So now it's just on top of this one clip. And let me select it. And you could see if it comes to effects control, you have a bunch of options with it too. So if I expand it, you could see I could change everything about it here. So it's too small, right? So I'm going to select it here. And what I want to do is make it bigger. So that's the size slider here. So I'll just make it like this big. Let's go with that. You could also move where it's at. Okay, so you could change it. That's under vector motion. I could open this up and I could work with these sliders, right? Move it up and down. Let's put it in the middle here. And I could change the font, right? So I could change the font to something bold like this and resize it if I want to, okay? And you have a bunch of options. This is just like any other text editor here. And you could change the color, right? So you could select this and let's say we want to make it yellow maybe. Okay, something like that. That doesn't look good. I'll stick with white. I'll press OK. So this is how easy it is to add text. And just like with anything, I could click on the beginning. I'll right click and add a transition. And at the end to add a transition. So now it will look like that. It'll come in and it'll fade out. That's adding text in the most simplest form. But if you go to the graphics tab up here, there is a whole world of text with all kinds of stuff that I've bought from Envato Elements, like really high-end motion graphics that you could easily grab and then add as text like this too. So these kind of text are already pre-animated. You could click on any of them and then edit them on this side. This is the graphics panel, which I'm not covering here, but just wanted to bring it to your attention. For basic text, you just use T, which is this tool right here. and it'll let you do it. I'll go back to default editing. Now, before we actually get this out of Premiere and ready to post, let's look at color correction, which I won't get into that much, but I wanted to show you just a quick glimpse into color correction. I'm gonna choose this clip to show you. You could go to this tab called color, okay? If I go to this tab called color, you get this whole world of color correction that you could work with. And each of these has different boxes. So let me actually close them. So you have basic color correction, creative, curves, vignette, all kinds of stuff. Typically, if you click on basic color correction, these are the useful stuff. If a clip is too dark, you can make it brighter. If it's too bright, you can make it darker. That's your adjustment for exposure. Contrast, you could make the blacks less noticeable or more noticeable. Highlights, same thing as exposure, just affecting highlights. Same with shadows, just affecting shadows. And you can make your blacks more black. So these are really advanced and simple at the same time. And saturation, you could really make things more colorful or less colorful, like black and white. These are useful. Color temperature, you can make things warmer or cooler. And you could change the tint of things, which I hardly do, but you can do some creative effects here, okay? This is the very basics of basic color correction, but I wanted to show you what's possible with Adobe Premiere Pro. But this, again, could be its own course, and I'll cover that more in my in-depth course on Adobe Premiere. Now, let's go ahead and export our project. Let's say we're done with this project. Typically, what I do is I come at the end of my project. Okay, I'll just come right here at the end with this. And what I do is I'll just press O. So that's the out point, but this time you're not doing it to a clip, you're doing it to your whole video. So with this, I make sure I start from the beginning and end exactly where I want. If I have extra stuff here, it won't worry about exporting that. Now, to export or get this out of Premiere, go to File, go to Export, and choose Media. Because I want to take a second to explain this panel, okay? The most common format is going to be H.264 for encoding. So I always recommend people choose this if they have no idea what they're looking at here. It's almost always going to work out for you in just about every situation. Then for preset, if you know where you're going with this, it makes it easy. If you're going to YouTube, there's that YouTube version 1080p. You've shot at 4K, there's a 4K version of that. If you're going to Vimeo, same thing. Twitter, same thing. If you have no idea where you're going, I still like the YouTube 1080p. It's the option I use almost every time, unless I need the 4K version of that video. Then output name, I click this, and remember our project file, it just automatically is going to put it here. So I could rename this to version 1 sunset and save it to exactly the folder I already created on my external hard drive. I'll press save. Then, depending on the options you choose, it's going to let you do a lot more advanced stuff here. Now for beginners, I recommend you touch none of it because this preset already dialed all these numbers in for you on their audio and video. Everything is done. So you don't have to do anything. Really, you just need to know your format. This is going to make it MP4 H.264 video, which is the most default video and it has been for like 5 years. Set it as that. Don't worry about anything else. Set your output name so it knows where it's going to go. Make sure if you have audio and video, they're both selected. Just press export. That's it. And depending on the speed and the length of your video, this may take seconds or it may take hours depending on the size. Now, if I go to this version right here, it's actually exporting right here. So as soon as this is done, I'll show you this clip. And there it is. I got this that says video exported successfully. It's in my hard drive. Just press spacebar here. And there's that video, right? Based on my editing. I mean, it's just kind of a mishmash of clips, but you got the idea of the different types of clips you could work with. And this is ready now to be posted anywhere. You could post it on YouTube. You could post it on Google Drive and send a link to a client, for example. If you're doing client work, I use Vimeo a lot for sending things to clients. And that's a crash course to using Adobe Premiere, the most powerful editing software out there. And I know we covered a whole bunch of stuff. That's why I'm putting together a very complete course where I really take my time and walk you through all of these in much more depth and show you a ton of things that we didn't get a chance to cover. So if you want to learn more about Adobe Premiere, really master it. I mean, I've been editing professionally for now 15 years, and for a decade, Adobe Premiere has been my favorite software. So I'll put a link in the description to that, all the other resources we talked about, royalty-free music, free link to Adobe Premiere. And I really hope if you want to take your editing to the next level that you choose Adobe Premiere, although I do cover all kinds of editing softwares on this platform and on this channel. So make sure you check those out to learn more about what's out there. Thanks so much for all your time. I really hope you found this useful. Share it with anybody else that you think may take advantage and benefit from learning Adobe Premiere. And I will see you next time.